Jealous sister tried to seducing my fiancé CC before my wedding so that we would break up, but she was caught. I never thought she would stoop so low. She'd always made my life hell, but I never thought she'd try to seduce my fiancé GC before my wedding. I mean, all that bullying, body shaming, and making fun of me was one thing, but it was a hard pill to swallow that she actually tried to seduce my fiancé GC and break my wedding. So, we were planning our wedding bit by bit. I was not talking to Mom after the last confrontation, but she called me and apologized for shouting at me. She was like, "I got scared to see Dove getting panic attacks, and hence she lost her control earlier." One of my cousins told me how Dove has been sobbing at my happy life. She has been telling everyone how I was accusing her of stealing my fiancé GC and how I was the undeserving of everything. I was getting the job and mainly Atlas. According to Dove, since she is the gorgeous one, she should get the best of everything and not me. I told Mom about this and she went silent. She was like, "Okay, you forget everything and focus on your wedding and your happy life ahead." Everything happened as planned. Dove was keeping a low key all this while. At least she didn't pop up in our life on the day of our wedding. We were at the venue, busy getting ready for the big moment. I got a call from Atlas's best friend asking me to come to Atlas's room with my parents. I playfully teased him that Atlas can't see the bride before the wedding. He said it was something serious, and we needed to address this before the wedding. My heart pounded, and I rushed to his room with my parents. Atlas was lying shirtless, slipping in and out of consciousness while his groomsmen narrated Dove's cunning tactics. Atlas was getting ready in his room when Dove arrived with a drink. He refused to have it, but Dove forced him for a sip. Atlas took a sip, and he understood that the drink was spiked. He excused himself and went to the washroom. He called his friend, explained everything, and asked him to come over. By the time his friend rushed into the room, Atlas had partially passed out and was out of the washroom. His friend was sharing the room with Atlas, so he had to access the room. He was swift to switch on his camera while sneaking inside the room. He heard Atlas shouting at Dove to leave him alone, while Dove was sitting on him, undressing herself and rubbing herself over him. This disgusting act was captured on camera. When she saw Atlas's friend, she pretended that they were making out and she covered up herself and went outside. She didn't realize that she was already recorded. She smirked at his friend and asked him not to tell anyone about this. When we went there, Atlas was still lying there, partially unconscious. The drink was so strong that it left Atlas with severe dizziness and headache, just with a few sips. The drink was still lying there with some solid particles settled at the bottom. It was a super embarrassing moment for my parents, and they couldn't believe Dove would do something so awful. Mom called her, asking her to come to Atlas's room. She came with smudged lipstick on her face. She was like, "I know you guys are mad at me, but it was mutual. Atlas loves me, and he has been making advances on me ever since he met me. And today he convinced me for a one-time hookup before the wedding." Mom slapped her hard, telling her that we knew the BS she was trying to pull off and that her moment had been recorded on camera. She was shocked to know that. My parents kicked her out of the venue before she created any further scene. The security was instructed to not let her enter the premises. She deliberately wanted everyone to know that she was making out with Atlas so that I cancel the wedding. My dad called the doctor, who confirmed that Atlas was served a spiked drink which messed up his head. Atlas's parents and siblings were so agitated that they wanted to hunt her down. My parents had to apologize to them to calm them down. The wedding was delayed until Atlas recovered after several rounds of puking. This news didn't take long to reach the guests, who were served with hot gossip for the next few days. When Atlas recovered, Dad walked me down the aisle. After the wedding debacle with Dove, things were tense. I couldn't believe how low she could stoop. My head was spinning with anger and confusion. How could she try to sabotage my happiness like that? It was like she couldn't stand seeing anyone else happy if she wasn't. And that's just how she always was, selfish to the core. But now, with her trying to ruin my wedding, she crossed a line I didn't think she'd dare to cross. Atlas and I tried to move past it, but it lingered like a dark cloud over us. I could see the doubt in his eyes sometimes, the uncertainty about whether he could trust me with Dove lurking in the shadows. It tore me up inside to see him like that, to know that my own sister's twisted games were causing him pain. And then there was Mom, always making excuses for Dove's behavior, always defending her no matter what. It was like she was blind to Dove's faults, blinded by some misplaced sense of maternal loyalty. It made me sick to my stomach to see her siding with Dove, to see her prioritizing her over me, her own son. But despite all the drama, Atlas and I were determined to make our marriage work. We leaned on each other for support, holding tight to the love that brought us together in the first place. And slowly things started to get better. The shadow Dove cast over us began to fade, replaced by the warm glow of our love for each other. We went on with our lives, building a home together, making plans for the future. And through it all, I knew that as long as we had each other, we could weather any storm. Dove might have tried to tear us apart, but in the end she only made us stronger, and for that, I'll always be grateful. But little did I know, Dove wasn't done with her games just yet. She had one final trick up her sleeve, one last attempt to destroy everything I held dear. And when it finally came to light, it would shake me to my core and test the very foundations of my marriage. As weeks turned into months, Atlas and I worked tirelessly to rebuild the trust that Dove had shattered. We attended counseling sessions, pouring our hearts out to a therapist who promised to help us navigate the treacherous waters of betrayal and deception. But even as we made progress, doubts still lingered in the back of my mind. Could I ever truly trust Atlas again, knowing that he had once been swayed by Dove's lies? And what about Dove herself? Was she truly remorseful for her actions? Or was she simply biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again? The uncertainty weighed heavily on me, casting a shadow over even the happiest moments of our marriage. I found myself questioning everything, every word, every gesture, as I searched for signs of deception lurking beneath the surface. And then, just when I thought we had finally put the past behind us, Dove reappeared like a specter from the grave, her presence sending shockwaves through our fragile relationship. She claimed to have changed, to have seen the error of her ways, but I couldn't bring myself to believe her, not after all the pain she had caused. But Atlas, ever the optimist, wanted to give her a second chance. He believed in the power of redemption, in the idea that people could change if given the opportunity. And try as I might to convince him otherwise, I couldn't deny the hope that flickered to life in my heart at the thought of finally putting the past behind us and moving forward as a family. So we welcomed Dove back into our lives, albeit cautiously, tiptoeing around her like wary animals in the presence of a predator. And for a while, it seemed like maybe, just maybe, she had turned over a new leaf. That maybe, just maybe, we could finally put the past behind us and start fresh. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, I began to see the cracks in Dove's facade, the telltale signs that she was still the same manipulative, deceitful person she had always been. And with each passing day, the tension between us grew, threatening to tear apart the fragile bonds of trust we had worked so hard to rebuild. In the end, it was Atlas who finally saw the truth for what it was, who finally realized that Dove would never change, that she was, and always would be, a toxic presence in our lives. And together, we made the difficult decision to cut ties with her once and for all, to banish her from our lives and move forward without her. It wasn't easy, saying goodbye to the sister I had once loved and trusted with all my heart, but in the end, it was the only choice we had if we wanted to protect our marriage, our sanity, and our future together. And so, with heavy hearts but heads held high, we bid farewell to Dove and all the pain and turmoil she had brought into our lives. And as we closed the door on that chapter of our lives, I felt a sense of relief wash over me, knowing that we were finally free from her toxic influence, free to live our lives on our own terms, free to embrace the happiness we had fought so hard to find. Just when I thought Dove couldn't sink any lower, she proved me wrong. I had hoped that her failed attempt to sabotage my wedding would finally make her see reason, but she was relentless in her pursuit of chaos. It all started innocently enough, or so I thought. Atlas and I were settling into married life, enjoying the bliss of newlyweds. But behind the scenes, Dove was plotting her next move, biding her time until the moment was right to strike. I should have seen the signs, should have known that she wasn't done with her games. But I was too caught up in my own happiness to see the danger lurking just around the corner. It wasn't until one fateful day that everything came crashing down around me. I came home early from work, eager to surprise Atlas with dinner, only to find him in our living room, locked in a heated argument with Dove. My heart sank as I listened to their words, the truth slowly dawning on me. Dove had been feeding Atlas lies, twisting the truth to make it seem like I was the villain in our marriage. And Atlas, blinded by his loyalty to his family, had started to believe her. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, the air knocked out of my lungs. How could Atlas doubt me like this? How could he let Dove poison his mind against me? But even as I grappled with the betrayal, a part of me refused to give up hope. I knew that deep down, Atlas still loved me, still believed in us, and I was determined to fight for our marriage, to prove to him that Dove's lies were nothing but smoke and mirrors. So I squared my shoulders and confronted Dove, demanding answers. And as she stood there, her face twisted in a mocking grin, I knew that this was far from over. Dove had declared war, and I was ready to fight tooth and nail to protect what was mine. As the days passed, the tension in our home reached a boiling point. Atlas and I were like two ships passing in the night, our once strong bond strained to the breaking point by Dove's toxic influence. Every word felt like a dagger to the heart, every glance filled with suspicion and doubt. I tried to reach out to Atlas, to bridge the growing divide between us, but he remained distant, his mind clouded by Dove's poisonous lies. And then came the final blow, the revelation that shattered my world into a million pieces. I stumbled upon a series of incriminating messages between Atlas and Dove, each one more damning than the last. They spoke of secret meetings, whispered promises, and plans to leave me behind and start a new life together. My hands shook as I read the words, disbelief and betrayal warring within me. How could Atlas do this to me? How could he throw away everything we had built together for the sake of a few fleeting moments of pleasure with my own sister? I wanted to scream, to lash out at them both for their treachery. But deep down, I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I made a decision to confront them head-on and demand the truth, no matter the cost. So I waited, biding my time until the moment was right. And when Atlas and Dove least expected it, I confronted them, laying bare the evidence of their deceit for all to see. Atlas tried to deny it, to spin a web of lies to cover his tracks. But I saw through his facade, saw the guilt written plain as day in his eyes. And Dove was positively gleeful, reveling in the chaos she had wrought. She smirked and laughed, taunting me with her victory. But I refused to let them break me, refused to let their betrayal define who I was. With a heavy heart, I made the hardest decision of my life to walk away from the wreckage of my marriage and start anew, leaving Atlas and Dove behind me for good. In the aftermath of my decision, a sense of liberation washed over me. Despite the pain and heartache, I felt a newfound sense of freedom and empowerment. I had taken control of my own destiny, refusing to be held captive by the toxic relationship that had consumed me for so long. With each step forward, I left behind the shadows of my past, embracing the bright promise of the future. I surrounded myself with love and positivity, building a support system of friends and family who lifted me up and encouraged me to thrive. Though the road ahead was uncertain, I faced it with courage and determination, knowing that I was capable of overcoming any obstacle that stood in my way. And as I journeyed towards healing and self-discovery, I found strength in my own resilience, emerging from the ashes of my old life stronger and more resilient than ever before. In the weeks and months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life from the ground up, piece by piece. I rediscovered passions and interests that had long lay dormant, immersing myself in activities that brought me joy and fulfillment. And though there were moments of doubt and insecurity, I refused to let them hold me back. I forged ahead with unwavering determination, confident in my ability to create a future that was brighter and more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. As time passed, the wounds inflicted by Atlas and Dove began to heal, leaving behind scars as a reminder of the battles I had fought and the strength I had gained. And with each passing day, I grew stronger and more confident in my ability to overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. In the end, I emerged from the darkness stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. And though the road ahead was uncertain, I faced it with courage and conviction, knowing that I had the power to shape my own destiny and create a life that was filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. After the confrontation, I found myself adrift in a sea of emotions. Anger, betrayal, and heartbreak swirling around me like a violent storm. But amidst the chaos, a small spark of determination flickered to life within me. I refused to let Atlas and Dove's betrayal define me. I may have been knocked down, but I wasn't out for the count just yet. With newfound resolve, I set out on a journey of self-discovery, determined to rebuild my shattered life from the ground up. It wasn't easy. There were days when the pain threatened to consume me, when the memories of Atlas's betrayal and Dove's manipulation weighed heavy on my soul. But I refused to give in to despair, drawing strength from the knowledge that I had survived the worst they could throw at me. Slowly but surely, I began to piece my life back together. I leaned on friends and family for support, finding solace in their unwavering love and encouragement. And with each passing day, the wounds inflicted by Atlas and Dove began to heal, leaving behind scars as a reminder of my strength and resilience. I threw myself into my work, channeling my pain and frustration into something positive. And as I poured myself into my career, I found a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I had never known before. But perhaps the most surprising thing of all was the realization that in spite of everything, I was going to be okay. I had weathered the storm and emerged stronger on the other side, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. And as I looked to the horizon, I knew that brighter days lay ahead. I may have been betrayed by those closest to me, but I refused to let their actions define my future. I was the master of my own destiny, and I was determined to make it a bright and beautiful one, no matter what obstacles lay in my path. In the midst of rebuilding my life, I discovered a newfound sense of resilience that I never knew I possessed. Each day brought with it new challenges and obstacles to overcome, but I faced them head-on with courage and determination. I surrounded myself with positive influences, seeking out friends and mentors who uplifted and encouraged me to be the best version of myself. Their unwavering support became a beacon of light in the darkest moments of my journey, guiding me towards a brighter tomorrow. As I delved deeper into my self-discovery journey, I unearthed hidden talents and passions that had long laid dormant within me. I threw myself into new hobbies and interests, relishing in the joy and fulfillment they brought to my life. But even as I embraced the excitement of new beginnings, I couldn't shake the lingering pain of betrayal that still haunted me. The wounds inflicted by Atlas and Dove ran deep, leaving behind scars that served as a constant reminder of the pain I had endured. Yet despite the challenges I faced, I refused to let bitterness and resentment consume me. Instead, I chose to focus on the lessons I had learned and the growth I had experienced along the way. And as I stood on the precipice of a new chapter in my life, I felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism wash over me. The future may have been uncertain, but I faced it with courage and conviction, knowing that I had the strength and resilience to overcome whatever obstacles lay in my path. With each passing day, I grew stronger and more confident in my ability to navigate the complexities of life. And as I forged ahead on my journey of self-discovery, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would emerge victorious, ready to embrace the limitless possibilities of the world around me. In the aftermath of the chaos caused by Atlas and Dove, I found myself standing at a crossroads, facing a future that was uncertain yet full of possibilities. But instead of allowing myself to be consumed by bitterness and resentment, I made a conscious decision to let go of the past and embrace the present moment. I realized that holding on to anger and pain would only weigh me down, preventing me from moving forward and finding true happiness. So I forgave Atlas and Dove not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. I released the hold they had over me, allowing myself to heal and grow stronger in the process. With a renewed sense of purpose, I set out to rebuild my life on my own terms. I surrounded myself with positivity and love, focusing on the things that brought me joy and fulfillment. And as I journeyed down the winding road of life, I discovered that happiness wasn't something to be found in the arms of another, but rather within myself. I learned to love and value myself in a way I never thought possible, realizing that my worth was not defined by the actions of others. In time, the wounds inflicted by Atlas and Dove healed, leaving behind scars as a reminder of the battles I had fought and the strength I had gained. And as I stood on the threshold of a new beginning, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them head-on, armed with the knowledge that I was enough, just as I was. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit unbroken, I stepped boldly into the future, ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited me. For I knew that no matter what trials and tribulations I may encounter along the way, I would emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before.